Now I am pleased to introduce our speakers, Emily Kaufman from Kindred Vines Import Company and Eduardo Borgi from Centio Wines. Emily Kaufman is the Marketing Director at Kindred Vines Import Company, a wine import company based in Michigan. After earning her degree in hospitality management from the University of Alabama, she began working in the wine industry at a local winery in Michigan and eventually found her way to Kindred Vines Import Company. Kindred Vines currently imports wines from France, Italy, Germany, and Portugal. Eduardo Borgi is co-owner of the Centio Wines, a Prosecco producer located near Congigliano, Italy. I'm sorry, Eduardo, I should have asked you the pronunciation there. They choose to enhance their area by creating a quality product, a refined interpretation of Prosecco sparkling wine. Centio is a third-generation winery. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Emily Kaufman and Eduardo Borgi. Thank you.
All right, welcome everyone to our Prosecco webinar. Today we're going to be talking about what Prosecco is, the differences between Prosecco and other sparkling wines, how Prosecco is made, and its history. And like David said, we also have the privilege of having one of our partners, Centio, to talk to you about being a Prosecco producer today. I'll just start off by introducing myself. My name is Emily, and I am the marketing manager here at Kindred Vines Import Company. Like David said, we're based out of Michigan, and we currently import wines from France, Italy, Germany, and Portugal. We distribute those wines throughout 14 of the central United States. We as a company are focused on relationships and education, so I'm very excited to be talking with you all about Prosecco today. So we will start off by talking about what exactly is Prosecco. We've got a short video for you guys to start with. All right, so sparkling wine has been enjoyed worldwide for centuries, and there are many different types of sparkling wine. English sparklers, the cavas of Spain, champagne from France, and of course, Prosecco from Italy, which is, the subject of our webinar today. There are many things that make Prosecco unique, from its flavors to its production, style to its history. So Prosecco is a sparkling wine made in the Veneto and Friuli Venezia Giulia regions. It originates from the Conegliano Valdobbiadene area, which is about 30 miles north of Venice. And over the last few decades, it has spread to the major parts of the Veneto and Friuli Venezia Giulia regions. The grapes of Prosecco are called glera. Glera is a white grape variety that has large and long bunches with yellow golden berries. In the production of Prosecco, the glera constitutes at least 85% of the grapes used. Glera is believed to be a very old variety, and its former name, Prosecco, was derived from the name of the village, Prosecco, which is near Trieste, where they believe the grape has originated. Glera was also believed to be cultivated during ancient Roman times. The Prosecco is produced using the Charmat method, which is also known as the Martinati method. It is a method of sparkling wine production where the fermented wine goes through its secondary fermentation in large steel tanks rather than in the bottle. To do that, a producer would add sugar to the wine, which they can either get from the must saved from harvest, or more commonly, producers will add good cane sugar. Then the wine and the sugar mixture will go into a hermetically closed container for its second fermentation, which is usually about 30 to 40 days long. Here you can see the hills of Valdobbiadene, which is where the best vineyards for Prosecco are located. The heart of Prosecco is largely a continental climate with minor influences from the Adriatic Sea to the east and the Italian Alps to the west. Conegliano, with its easterly position, tends to be a bit warmer and is moderated by the sea, while Valdobbiadene is more alpine continental and is generally cooler and has a greater diurnal shift. That refers to the phenomenon where there are higher temperatures during the day and then cooler temperatures at night, which helps to properly ripen the grapes. Prosecco is on its way to becoming one of the most widely consumed sparkling wines in the entire world. So let's talk about how we serve, taste, and pair Prosecco. More often than not, Prosecco is served as an aperitif, but it can also be paired well with food. It should be served chilled and young. Prosecco is a fruity, vivacious, and richly fragrant wine. It is able to express its qualities to the fullest when it's served in a large white wine glass. This way, its aromas have ample space to be captured by the nose, and the bubbles are better able to convey to the palate an impression of dry, clean, velvety smoothness on the finish. Prosecco should be stored in a cool, dark place and be enjoyed ideally within about 18 months of its secondary fermentation. With a fine Prosecco, it may be aged slightly longer than 18 months, for up to about 3 years. During that period, Prosecco's fresh, fruity yield to more evolved fragrances and impressions. They tend to have a bit more creamy and nutty notes than their younger counterparts. Prosecco has become famous worldwide as a must at aperitivo time, a ritual that has now become popular at an international level, establishing an iconic moment of the Italian lifestyle. However, thanks to its variable level of sweetness, Prosecco is also suitable for drinking throughout a meal, particularly in the brut version. It should always be served straight, never mixed, and the secret of matching it with food is succeeding in combining its elegant, non-invasive personality with dishes that can show off the quality of their ingredients. Here on this slide, you can see some examples of some excellent Prosecco pairings. So on the drier end of the spectrum, we have the brut Prosecco, and it pairs well with Parma and other air-dried ham, mini quiches and frittatas, mild cheeses such as Asiago, white asparagus, sushi, seafood, and vegetables. And then on the sweeter end of the spectrum with the extra dry Prosecco, it pairs well with panettone and Easter colomba, which is an Italian Easter cake. It's made with flour, eggs, sugar, butter, and yeast, and is traditionally baked into the shape of a dove for Easter. And then it's topped with pearl sugar and almonds. We also have Italian-style biscuits like frutti ma buoni, which literally translates to ugly but good. A type of hazelnut or almond-flavored biscuit that's made in central Italy. Then we also have cooked fish, chicken, white meat, and vegetables. As you can see, the brut style tends to pair better with more savory dishes like appetizers, while the extra dry will pair better with sweeter dessert dishes, but there is some crossover between the two styles. All right, next we'll talk about Prosecco and Champagne and what makes these two sparkling wines so different from each other. The Prosecco DOC, produced in northeastern Italy, comes from the Conegliano Valdobbiadene zone, which is a hilly growing area where sparkling wines have flourished since about the mid-1800s. Like Prosecco, Champagne indicates a production area, so it is a denomination of geographical origin. In this case, an area in northern France, east of Paris, where sparkling wine has been made since about the mid-1700s. Prosecco is more aromatic and more affordable than Champagne due to their differing production methods. Here you can see the differences between the common flavors found in Prosecco and Champagne. So on the Prosecco side of things, we have notes like green apple, honeydew melon, pear, honeysuckle, and cream, whereas on Champagne, we have citrus, peach, almond, white cherry, and toast. As you can see, both feature fruit, but they are very different types of fruit. Prosecco tends to show crisp tree fruit notes like that pear and apple, as well as floral notes. Champagne tends to show deeper stone fruit flavors with that peach and white cherry, and has much more emphasis on the toast and the nuttiness. The bubbles of Champagne and Prosecco are different as well. Prosecco bubbles have a little more spritz than Champagne, making it more refreshing, which is a quality that many consumers really enjoy. And like we talked about before, Prosecco is known for being aromatic and intense up front, whereas Champagne is more known for its secondary aromas and rich qualities. So Champagne is made from Chardonnay, Pinot Meunier, and Pinot Noir exclusively. Prosecco is made with the Glera grape mainly, and all Prosecco must be at least 85% Glera. The other 15% can consist of other locally grown varietals, like these. So Prosecco can also be made with Pereira, Bianchetta, Verdiso, Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Noir. Notice there is some crossover with the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir that we see used in Champagne production. So like we said, the main Prosecco grape is Glera. The name Glera was adopted for the main grapes in Prosecco to avoid confusion with the town that was named Prosecco and the DOC region of Prosecco. There are three major clones of the Glera grape planted: Tondo, which means round, Lungo, which means long, and Nostrano, which is rarely seen these days. Its tight bunches can make it extremely difficult to grow that particular clone. Pereira is an indigenous grape to Valdobbiadene and translates literally to pear, which refers to the pear-like perfume that it lends to its wines. This varietal nearly went extinct in the 1970s, but is slowly being revitalized. There are only about 30 hectares of Pereira planted today, some of which belong to our partners at Sentio. Bianchetta is a thick-skinned variety that grows in small bunches. You might recognize it from its use in vermouth production as well. The last of the indigenous varieties is Verdiso. Like Pereira, it was almost wiped out in the 1960s due to disease, but it has made somewhat of a comeback today. So here on this slide, you can see a photo of the small bunches of the Bianchetta grapes. The name Bianchetta translates into little white from Treviso. The Prosecco is produced using the Charmat method, where the wine undergoes its secondary fermentation in large steel tanks. In the method champenoise, which is what Champagne is produced with, the wine undergoes its secondary fermentation in the bottle, a much more costly and lengthy process. Using the Charmat method not only leads to differences in the aromatics and the flavors between the wines, but the affordability of this method leads to great differences in price and production numbers as well. And speaking of production, let's take a deeper look at how Prosecco is made. So here's a chart outlining the different steps of the Charmat method. We start how we would with any wine, with grape juice, sugar, and yeast in a tank that will ferment to create a still Prosecco wine, which we'll actually talk a little bit about later. Then the wine is transferred to a pressure-resistant tank, and it undergoes its secondary fermentation, making it sparkling. Wines are then filtered to remove the sediment and given a dosage, which is a mixture of sugar and must. Must is the term for the grape juices before fermentation. The dosage level is regulated, and that's where the terms brut, extra dry, and dry come from. If you look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see the different dosage levels. So brut is 0 to 12 grams per liter of residual sugar, extra dry is 12 to 17, and dry is 17 to 32 grams per liter. Now here are some photos of the large steel tanks that are used in Prosecco production. It looks like most winery cellars do. The Charmat method is cleaner and more affordable than the method champenoise, and the wines that use the Charmat method, like Prosecco, have less contact with the yeast sediment that's known as the lees. Lees contact is one of the things that contributes to the yeasty, toasty flavors we know from champagne, so it makes sense that by removing some of this contact, Prosecco would come out fresher, fruitier, and brighter. All right, now we'll cover some of the history of Prosecco. So Prosecco has an ancient history. If you look to the left of your screen, you'll see where the word Prosecco with an S is written in italics. This is an excerpt from some of Pliny the Elder's writings, and the word Prosecco is an ancient word that evolved into the word Prosecco. He often referenced Prosecco in his healing recipes, curing ailments such as headaches and stomach aches alike. And like we talked about before, the Glera grape, the main grape used in Prosecco, was believed to be grown in ancient Rome as well. All right, and I said we would talk a little bit about stilled Prosecco. So for most of history, up until about the late 19th century, Prosecco was actually a still wine that was widely enjoyed and very popular throughout Italy and Rome specifically. While 95% of Prosecco is produced as a sparkling wine today, there are still some producers making the Tranquillo or still style. Tranquillo wines are simply a still version of Prosecco that use the same grapes as the sparkling rendition. They tend to be fresh, aromatic, and fun, and they rarely, if ever, see oak or extended élevage. In 1868, almost 200 years after champagne was first produced, Carpene Malvati produced the first sparkling version of Prosecco. However, it still wasn't quite like what we know and love today. Up until recently, Prosecco was sweet and very reminiscent of the Asti wine that was being produced in Piedmont. However, since then, there have been vast improvements in the production techniques of Prosecco, and that has helped catapult the category into the high-quality, great-value sparkling wine we know today. In 2016, over 3 million hectoliters of Prosecco were produced, which translates to about 420 million bottles. Prosecco as a category has seen huge growth in the last few years. Prosecco sales grew 32% in 2016 over the previous year, helping elevate sparkling wine consumption 11% overall, and those sales are only predicted to grow even more in 2017. A third of consumers who purchased Prosecco in 2016 were buying a sparkling wine for the first time. Additionally, it was one of 3 top sellers for on-premise accounts, along with Sauvignon Blanc and, unsurprisingly, Cabernet Sauvignon. Outpacing champagne sales growth by 25%, Prosecco is becoming a regular drink for millennials for more occasions than just brunch mimosas. These are some very important trends to consider. Okay, and now I'm going to hand it off to Eduardo so he can tell you a little bit about Sentio Prosecco.
Welcome everybody. My name is Edoardo Borghi, co-owner along with Francisco Bacicchetta of Sentio Wines, a Prosecco producer located in Cima d'Olmo, near Conegliano, close to Venice. Our winery is the third generation winemaking, and we focus to produce high quality Prosecco DOC and Prosecco Superiore DOCG. Our terrain for the DOC product is in Cima d'Olmo, and for the DOCG, our terrain is in Collalto, a small town surrounded by hills. Our wine is produced after an accurate research of the local grapes in the high market Trevigiana, and alongside the young wine lovers' consumer demands. The brand is refined interpretation of the sparkling Prosecco, modern, French, and exuberant. The passion for the wine and the vineyards that's come from Francisco's grandfather, Grandpa Agostino, who began to work as a vintner in his late 40s. Grandpa started by purchasing 10 hectares, and now his winery has grown and become one of the best known in Conegliano hinterland. Today, we got 21 hectares, all in the Prosecco land, 20 for the DOC area and 1 for the DOCG area. The difference about our terrain in the DOC and the DOCG is the earth and different of heat exchange. In the DOC, we got more sand inside and give more fresh sensation to the grapes. Also, for the DOC COP legislation, the maximum production quantity is 180 quintals per hectare. In the DOCG area, we got more stone inside. The ground drains better because all the terrain is in the hill. The DOCG COP legislation says the maximum production quantities is 120 quintals per hectare. 50 quintal difference is for have less grape in the plant, and in that way the grapes got more sugar degree, more taste of pear and apple, and for make like a cru version of the Prosecco. The Sentio Prosecco is available in two classic versions, Brut and Extra Dry. Our Prosecco is made with 98% of Glera grapes and 2% of Pereira. The Pereira is a typical grapes of Prosecco area and give more taste of fruit and fresh pear. Normally, the Prosecco for the bubble process is produced in 25 days, but in that way, the product is stressed up and the bubble becoming big, and the real taste of the fresh fruit and apple get lost. Our bubble process are made in at least 50 days or more. In that way, we don't stress up the wine in order to have tiny bubbles, more durable product, and preserve the real taste of Prosecco. Prosecco DOC Extra Dry has a sugar level of 14 grams per liter. The DOC Brut version is 10 grams, and the DOCG Brut has 5 grams per liter. Normally, during the sparkling process, is used cane sugar. We prefer to use only our most concentrated in order to have more perfume, flavor, and for use only our material. We are really proud to say Sentio Prosecco DOC has been declared the finest Prosecco of the year in the UK by Matthew Jukes from the Daily Mail, and at the International Wine Challenge in 2016, the Prosecco Brut has received the silver medal, and for the Extra Dry, the commended. The name Sentio derives from the Latin verb sentio. That means proceed with sense, experiment, research, and appreciate the best from the life. Suggesting the idea of mindful choice of fine drinking through the pleasure of tasting, to discover the most authentic and genuine sensation, its perfume and aromas, plus the knowledge of the quality and its infinite shades. The label had been designed by artist Elena Borghi, a famous artist in Milan. She represents the lush grapes goddess, a gushing nature that bears excellent fruit, offering in a gift genuine product ready to inebriate all, with simplicity and elegance of the Prosecco wine. One of the details of the label is the rose, a flavor that has always been and is still being planted in all our terrain, at the beginning and at the end of every row of vines, as it believed that it could warn of a possible onset of grapes disease. This is the rose from the beginning of the vines. Before concluding, we want to present our new product, the Rosa Aurea, a finest sparkling rosé made with 95% of Glera grapes and 5% of Raboso grapes. Raboso grapes is a typical red grapes from Veneto region, a real tannin wine to remember flavors of breadfruit like raspberry and cranberry. The Rosa Aurea is done only in extra dry version with 14 grams per liter of sugar. We hope you have the chance to taste our Prosecco and find the flavor of the characteristic mentioned before. We would like also to say thanks to our importer Kindred Vines for the opportunity to explain our company and what we do. Thank you everybody and hope to enjoy the explanation of our company.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll open up the questions. I know we had a few that came in. The first question, let me scroll back up here. I apologize, I just had it and it just scrolled. The first one, you said, do you see many Prosecco wines made with Pinot Noir grapes?
It's really unusual method to done it. We don't done it because the Pinot Noir I think is got too much taste and flavor and cover up what the Prosecco really is.
Okay. We have one more question so far, and I'd like to open it up again. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put it through. They said they noticed that in your photos and videos, they noticed traditional wine glasses. Was that Prosecco? And what is your preference of glass to get the highest satisfaction when enjoying Prosecco?
Yes, the higher glasses is what's the best way to drinking, like champagne glasses, because in that way you don't crash the bubble and you can feel better all the taste. Also, if you have a little bit more big glasses, is good.
Okay. Emily, this question is probably more geared towards you. It says, where is Prosecco available, and could you give an example of pricing, like the price range that it would normally fall in?
Sure. So for the Centillo Prosecco, it usually hits retail shelves at about $13.99. We have it distributed currently all throughout the state of Michigan. We also have it in Pennsylvania and Colorado. And like I said, we as an import company have all of our wines distributed throughout 14 of the central United States, kind of all the way down through Texas, Georgia, North and South Carolina, and kind of everywhere in between, all the way up to Michigan, that we would potentially be distributing the Centillo Prosecco through.
Okay, thank you. Another question, I don't know if it's a question or statement, it says, we see an increase in sales from millennials, but what is being done to attract older wine enthusiasts who are champagne drinkers or non-sparkling drinkers?
Well, I think as a whole, we've seen this category, not just of Prosecco, but of affordable sparkling wine really take off with Cremants throughout France, with some of the lower tiered champagnes. And yes, like we talked about before, I do believe millennials are a driving force in the industry when it comes to trends and things like that. But basically, the way that I believe a lot of these producers are appealing to a more traditional crowd is by putting that emphasis back on a high quality product and not just a trend or maybe a gimmick, but the fact that, using Centillo as an example, this is the best quality Prosecco that you could possibly get for this price point, and so that you can kind of please a wider crowd then who know that they're putting their money towards a very great product.
Okay. And then a couple questions about the Rosa, is it Aurea? I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that, mispronouncing that. One person asked, what is the purpose of the Rebozo grape for the Rosa Aurea?
The purpose of the Rebozo is because it's really tannin wines, and we've done a lot of tasting with the Rebozo and other grapes, and we think with the Rebozo you have the best way for drinking a nice rosé, because in the tannin you can find a lot of flavor of like cranberry or raspberry, like I said before, and you have a perfect a perfect tones of a fresh Prosecco Rosé version.
Okay. And then is the pricing for the, what is the pricing for the Rosa Rio?
That is actually priced the same as the fruit and extra dry, so everything is coming in around $13.99 retail. And when it comes to distribution of all of these wines, my email address is just emily@kindredvines.com, nice and simple. So if anybody has any additional questions or any questions specific to distribution, I would be more than happy to field those if you just want to send me an email and we can get you set up with the right people.
Okay, there were a few questions about that. One was asking who was the Michigan wholesaler for Centio wines. Somebody
Yes.
asked, is Centio available wholesale in Florida? Do you know?
We are currently working on developing a relationship with a distributor in Florida, so our plans are to bring Centio to Florida and eventually nationwide. It's not there exactly at the moment, but we are developing that.
Oh, yeah. And again, they could contact you, through your email?
Yeah, if they email me, we work very closely. The name of our wholesaler here in Michigan is Woodbury Wine. We work extremely closely with them, and we are constantly expanding into other states and other markets. And if there's any distributors over in these other states that people are familiar with and we want to start to work on that partnership together, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, great. A couple other questions came in. Are there any particular mixers you would recommend, or is it preferred to be served on its own?
For me, the best way is to drink it only with the Prosecco. Here in Italy the Spritz is a typical Venetian drink. It's with Prosecco and Aperol. But all the time I say the best way for trying the Prosecco is only the Prosecco. Fresh, nice bottle, that's it.
Okay, great. The next question, are there other regions or countries where Glera is grown or can be grown, or is it just in Italy?
Sorry, I don't understand the question.
I'm sorry, they were asking, are there any other areas where the Glera grape is grown, or is it just there in Italy?
It's most typical only in Veneto region. If you go outside from the DLC area, you can find Glera grapes by just calling Glera or white wine because it's declassed. Only in the DLC and DOCG you can done Prosecco with the Glera because the Glera is what the Prosecco was born, and is only born in Conegliano Valdobbiadene hills.
Okay, great. Let me scroll through. I think we got through all of the questions. Let me just go through here. There's a question about Florida wholesaler, the glassware. There was a couple glassware questions. So I think that we handed off. So Emily and Eduardo, we appreciate your time today. Thank you.